Leo, welcome to your February horoscope. My name is Adeana. I'm an intuitive astrologer. And in this forecast, we will be going over all of the energy you will be navigating for the month of February. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. Now, let's get right into it. So I break these horoscopes down by week and give you to give you a bit of a visual, and I select a chart for each week. So the first week of February, as soon as we come into the month on the first, we have our full moon in Leo in your sign at 13 degrees. So you definitely want to check your ascendant degree point to see if you have your ascendant around that 13 degrees, because you'll definitely feel this full moon. But this is also going to be the last lunation that we have in Leo and Aquarius, oh, well, Leo, because the next one we have in Aquarius is a solar eclipse. But in Leo, that's not an eclipse because we're going to have the nodes enter Leo and Aquarius in July. And they'll be there for the next 2 years. So the next 2 years, we will have lunations in Leo and Aquarius, and they will be either a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. Now, I do believe that the month of February, there's going to be events and experiences coming in this month, giving us an idea of what those changes can look like when we have the nodes transiting our first and our seventh houses. There's a lot changing around you, who you are as a person, how you connect to others, how you connect within your one-on-one connections, what you need within one-on-one connections, the South Node. And I'll be posting a separate forecast going into the energy of the nodes entering Leo and Aquarius and what that can bring for each sign. Also, if you want to check out my the 2026 horoscopes for your sign, I get into that energy as well. Um, but with this lunation, it's going to just highlight something around you, whether it's your character, your personality, your physical body, how you connect within relationships, maybe something going on within your relationships that you're having to address. There's quite a lot of energy in that seventh house and Aquarius of your relationships on one-on-one connections. So I would say February is there's a lot going on between you and your relationships. Now, on the third, we've got Uranus stationing direct. You have Uranus in your 10th house of career and public reputation. So the last 8 years, Uranus has been shifting and changing the energy within your career, within your public reputation. And I would say the last year or so, with Uranus moving over these degree points, whatever you've been navigating around your career and even one-on-one connections, there could be something that you're revisiting at the time of the station. Now, I think collectively this month we're going to see a lot of weather conditions, storms. I think we're going to see a lot around, possibly even earthquakes, but interesting weather things I think will be happening this month. On the 5th, we've got Mercury forming a square to Uranus. Mercury is going to be in your seventh house of relationships and one-on-one connections. So you may be having some type of powerful conversation with a partner. You may be receiving some type of interesting information. Um, Mercury also rules your second house of money, finances, and material possessions. So there may be something around your finances that you're having to address as well. Mercury also rules your sixth house or sorry, not your sixth house, your 11th house of your friendships and social circles. So there might be something showing up around a friend too that you're having to address. On the 6th, Mercury is going to enter Pisces, and you have Pisces in your eighth house of your partner's finances, money coming in from outside resources. There's quite a lot in that eighth house, actually. The eighth house rules death, rebirth, transformation. The eighth house can be quite psychically transformative. The eighth house can also rule our secrets and deepest fears. So, as we move through the month, a lot of energy will move from the seventh house into that eighth house. So there might be more focus on your partner's finances or focused on money coming in from outside resources, maybe loans, maybe debts, maybe having to clear some of those things up. I'm in Canada. So as we get to February, we're also entering tax season. So there's more focus on that. Um, on the 8th, we've got Venus forming a square to Uranus. So, Venus is going to be here in your seventh house of relationships, forming a square to Uranus. So, there might be something very unexpected showing up around. relationships or one-on-one connections again that you're having to address. Venus also rules your 10th house of career and public reputation. And so at this point, there actually is this interesting, which I didn't even notice until now. Um, there is this interesting oh gosh, my mind just went a blank. Oh, what is it called? Oh, it's where the planets are in each sign, and I cannot think of the proper term right now at all. It's just completely escaped me. But it's where Venus is in Uranus's sign, Uranus is in Venus sign. So there's this like common kind of thing going on where they're in each other's signs. And so I would definitely say that, yeah, there's something here going on around your relationships and one-on-one connections in your career. Now let's get to the second week. And on the 10th, we've got Venus entering Pisces. So again, bringing more energy to that eighth house and eighth house topics. On the 11th, we've got Mercury entering shadow. So Mercury is going to enter pre-shadow, and this is where Mercury hits the degree point that Mercury is going to retrograde back to. On the 25th of February, Mercury is going to station retrograde. And so what's ever going on, whatever is showing up from the 11th to the 25th when it has to do with your finances, when it has to do with your partner's finances or friendships, because that's kind of Mercury kind of rules those areas of life at the moment. Mercury's the ruler of your second house of money, finances, and material possessions, and also the ruler of your 11th house of friends and friendships and social circles and um, groups and associations that you're kind of connected to. But Mercury is currently in that eighth house of partners, finances, and money coming in from outside resources. So this Mercury retrograde is going to work with all of those areas of life. Actually, if you watch the 2026 horoscopes that I posted for your sign, I get into the Mercury retrogrades a bit and pull up the charts. So make sure you check out those 2026 rising sign horoscopes. But this is, yeah, where there's a lot of energy here in the eighth, and there's something you're reevaluating, or your partner possibly is reevaluating about their finances. But it's going to start on the 11th. So pay attention to kind of what is showing up from this point. On the 12th, we're going to have Mercury forming a conjunction to the North Node. So I always find when the planets connect to the nodes, this can be like an insightful time period. It's an insightful day, whether it's a conversation you're having or information you're receiving. There's usually something about that day that sticks out that ends up coming up again or that you can use later on down the road. Now the nodes have been transiting your second and eighth house, so you've had a lot of changes going on in your money with your money, your partner's money, and just your relationship to money in general too. But this is where there can be something just really powerful coming in around your money and finances. Then on the 13th, we've got Saturn entering Aries. And so make sure, again, you check out, I know I'm kind of talking about all these forecasts, but it's just so that you can get a really good understanding of how this energy is showing up for you. But I posted a forecast about the Saturn Neptune energy and how that's showing up for all rising signs. Make sure you check that out. But this is taking place in your ninth house of higher education, higher knowledge, long distance travel, your belief systems, religion, publishing, astrology, that's all in the ninth house. And so this is a global reset for everybody. We're all going through some type of massive shift or change, some way, shape, or form, whether it's emotionally, physically, psychologically. It's just it just is what it is. When we're dealing with these, it just is when we're dealing with these energies. And so for you, Leo, I mean, maybe you could publish a book. Maybe you have thought about writing your entire life, and now you're like, I am doing it. I'm writing that book. I'm publishing that book. It's happening. And this is an energy we're all in. I'm excited about it. But because it's in that ninth house, I'm just using that as an example. But make sure you check out the forecast because this is quite interesting. Now, naturally speaking, when Saturn transits certain areas of our chart, we tend to have to become either more mature or responsible in those areas of life. But Saturn can also bring delays, challenge, and hardship. So I would say if you're going to travel over the next couple of years, having Saturn in the ninth house, you could experience delays or just limitation or challenge around, certain things. And then we get to week 3, and on the 16th, we've got the Sun forming a square to Uranus and Mercury forming a trine to Jupiter. So the Sun is going to be in your seventh house. and then form a square to Uranus. And this is usually where I say when we have the sun and Uranus working together, we can experience anxiety or we can get some really powerful insight, intuitive downloads. There might be something kind of unexpected showing up within relationships because the sun is in that seventh house, but the sun is your chart ruler. So when the sun forms a square to Uranus, there might be something just very sudden going on with you that you're having to address, whether it has to do with your physical body, your appearance, um, something along those lines, anxiety, just something to be mindful and aware of. Now, Mercury trining Jupiter, um, this is where we could get, this is where Mercury being in your eighth house, I would say this is where you might get some support around your finances. Like if there is anything that you're navigating, or that comes up that's difficult around finances, there could be like some really powerful support here. Jupiter's retrograde in your 12th. So I would say if it is support, it's internal. Like this energy is more internalized. So you might even just get some like epiphany of some kind of not necessarily your finances, but I would say just how you've been handling everything. Like maybe you've been having a hard time like adjusting to certain things or wrapping your mind around certain things. And I'm sure this isn't going to be for all of you, but this is where maybe you just finally feel that shift within to approach things a little bit differently and process things a little bit differently. Then on the 17th, we have our solar eclipse in Aquarius at 28 degrees, which is in your seventh house of relationships. And so this is where it all begins. And at this point, we're officially in eclipse season. Like as soon as we pass that, the full moon in Leo, we're in eclipse season. So the whole month of February is just intense because we're in eclipse season. The whole month of February, we're going to have change after change, um, different things kind of coming in, weird weather conditions, storms. But on the 17th, we've got the Aquarius solar eclipse, and this is whatever is showing up kind of a few weeks before this and a few weeks after, whatever you're navigating at this time, this is going to show you what those changes are going to look like. And I'm telling you, I've been tracking this a long time, and there's like a story that plays out with these nodes and eclipses. When the nodes are transiting certain areas of our life, there's like a story playing out. And every time we have an eclipse, there is more to that story that shows up. So that's why I say pay attention the month of February. What is showing up around you and partnerships? Because that's really going to give you an idea of the change that you're going to be in the next 2 years. Now, also on the 17th, we've got Venus forming a conjunction to the North Node. And I love these conjunctions to the nodes because that's usually where there is just something that comes in, whether it is psychologically or it's a some type of conversation or you have some type of shift in some way. There's something that kind of comes in that can just be useful down the road or be of some insight, be a little bit insightful. On the 18th, we've got the sun entering Pisces. Then on the 20th, we've got our Saturn Neptune conjunction. So again, check out that forecast. I kind of get into this, but this is the global reset. I feel like we'll feel this a lot more collectively than individually. But Saturn rules your sixth house of work, health, and daily routine. So Saturn being in fall in Aries, Saturn doesn't do the greatest in Aries. That will influence the houses ruled by Saturn. And so that is your sixth and seventh house. Because Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius as well, where Uranus is the modern ruler. So you may find that there is a lot you're having to navigate over the next couple years around health, around work, possibly around pets, possibly around your nutrition habits or your daily routines of some kind. And then again, also your relationships and one-on-one connections. And then on the 22nd, we've got Venus forming a trine to Jupiter. So I really love this because this is like some type of beautiful insight and support in the mix of chaos. And Venus is going to be in your eighth house, and Jupiter in your 12th. So again, I see this as possibly like it's some type of internal wisdom Maybe somebody giving you something or having something come in that, again, helps you shift in some way. I feel like for you guys this month, there's going to be some internal growth taking place, if that makes sense. And then we get to our final week of February, and on the 25th, we've got Mercury stationing retrograde in Pisces. So you will have this Mercury retrograde in your eighth house. So there may be something you're reevaluating around your partner's finances or money coming in from outside resources or your finances, um, or again, friendships. And then on the 27th, we've got the sun forming a conjunction to the North Node. And these are ones you really have to pay attention to. Like, yes, I love when the planets conjunct the nodes, but the lunar nodes primarily work with the sun and the moon. So we only have the sun come together with the lunar nodes twice a year. The moon does twice a month, which is nice. But when the sun comes together with with the North Node, there's something very powerful around whatever it is you've been navigating around your finances. And in this area of life, there's some really beautiful support coming in, or insight, or just something is showing up to help you navigate this energy. And sometimes it is something coming in that seems insignificant in the moment, but later on down the road, it comes to be something very useful. And then we also have the Mars square to Uranus on the 27th, which I think is going to be huge collectively. I think we'll see a lot more around like storms and the weather, but I also think we're going to see a lot more around possibly like riots and just people kind of standing up for freedoms and what they believe in and stuff like that. Now, Mars is in your seventh house of relationships, so there is something that you could be navigating kind of around that. Also, Mars rules that ninth house. If you're deciding to travel at this time, I would recommend not to. Yeah, Leo, I really don't recommend traveling this month, especially the end of the month with the Mars square to Uranus. I don't think it's going to be a good month to travel for you guys, especially to I could see like, just flights being canceled, delays, stuff like that. Yeah, so just be careful, mindful of that if you are deciding to travel again. As your astrologer, I'm not recommending you to. And then on the 28th, with Venus forming a conjunction to Mercury retrograde, there can be some insight conversation or something kind of coming in on this day around maybe something that you've been navigating and having to reevaluate during the Mercury retrograde. Especially when it has to do with like your money and your finances. Maybe a friend is coming in to help support you with something. And that eighth house has to do with, again, psychological healing and transformation and intimacy, which can definitely be a thing with this energy too. How you intimately connect to people, like how you are intimate within your one-on-one connections, what you need on a deep, deep level, how you express that. And I'm sure that's not going to be for all of you, but for some of you, it could show up in that way. So yeah, maybe this is where you just have some support or something coming in, someone coming in to just support you and help navigate something that you're moving through. And then on the 28th, we've got Mars activating the eclipse point. We had the eclipse at 28 degrees of Aquarius. And so on the 28th, Mars is going to hit that 28th degree and activate that eclipse point. So whatever was kind of going on at that time when Mars activates that eclipse point, there could be more kind of coming in around that. I think this is going to be more something we see collectively, like with riots and again the weather, and we're in that energy kind of all of February. I just think that's when there can be like another big thing or event take place. But in our own personal lives, and some of us aren't going to experience, much at all, but then there's going to be some of us that like where it hits us, really hard, really heavy, and it all depends on our own personal birth chart. But for you, if there was anything that was showing up around the time of the eclipse or beginning of the month, there can be something around that story coming in or another event at the time when Mars hits that eclipse point at 28 degrees. All right, Leo. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope this helps you navigate the energy for the month ahead. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you align with my energy and enjoy my content. And I will connect with you in the next one.